Open mics provide us with the opportunity to showcase our talent, develop new skills, network with others, and so much more. As our careers grow, we turn to music conferences for that. A lot of the music conferences are really running into hard times through this pandemic. We're going to talk to a conference director from the Folk Alliance Region Midwest today about that and much more. Stick around. Welcome to Charlie's Open Mic. My name is Charlie Mosbrook. On today's show, we have Annie and Rod Capps. They are a duo out of Chelsea, Michigan. Annie is also the conference director for Folk Alliance Region Midwest, and we're going to talk to her about the challenges that conference has had during the pandemic and what's in store for the future. For clarity's sake, I want to also let you know that I am on the board of trustees of Folk Alliance Region Midwest, just to be honest about how this works out. And we've got some really cool things going on. We're going to talk about the music conference. We're going to talk about Annie and Rod's career as musicians, and we're going to listen to their music. So let's do that now.
Dark corners, full moons, deep rivers of gin. Too many sea assumes no room at the inn. Spinning round and round and round and round we go. Back for more and more and more we go. Searching for Neverland. Love letters unsent. Crippled summer days, Miss Darling's lament, the quiet price she pays. Spinning round and round and round and round we go. Back for more and more and more we go. Searching for Neverland. High and low, find it tonight. Where'd it go? Second star on the right. Steel bars, trapdoors, old secrets, new sins. His shadow on the floor. Here we go again. Spinning round and round and round and round we go. Back for more and more and more we go. Searching for Neverland. Searching for Neverland.
Rod and Annie Capps, welcome to the show.
Hey there.
Hey.
Thanks for having us, Charlie.
Yeah, good to see you.
So you guys have been playing music for quite some time together. Did you meet in 1982?
Late 82.
Yep.
I got a call from an old orchestra director who knew someone via the School of Music at U of M that needed a guitarist for a club band. So I was 18 or 19. I had enough chart reading. I figured I could give it a shot. So anyways, I went and showed up at this place called the Apartment Lounge in Ann Arbor at the time, and had sort of an audition meeting with everyone. And
My soon-to-be husband drummer was in this band, and he walked in, and I did one of those like, oh, uh-oh. Wow, like Sean Cassidy haircut, bell bottoms. Oh my gosh, the Coke. He still is dreamy, but
we met playing in that band.
Yeah.
And then I moved off to school in Chicagoland, and we remained really good friends. And then we became romantically involved.
closer.
Yeah, and but that as she would tell, took another 11 years before I got my act together and asked her to marry me. Along that way, though, we played in a couple different bands, right? So we were always sort of playing music. The very first one we were in was a rock cover band, of the early 80s, and plenty of classic rock and Pat Benatar and all that stuff. And then we found each other again in original bands later on. So
yeah, our paths
am I
kept
leaving out?
crossing. Believe me, a lot of stuff they don't need to know about.
I know.
But yeah,
So you sort of zigzagged back and forth with each other for quite some time.
it was this. I almost got married again.
We were intersecting one way or another through it all.
You're in a group with called the Yellow Room Gang, which is a songwriting community. How would you describe that?
Collective. This is this is more my thing than Rod's, although he ends up being an honorary member frequently.
Yeah,
But
they let me come play with them.
yeah, Jan Krist was working with David Tamulevich at the time, with his agency, and she started talking to him about having songwriters get together over a potluck and sharing works in progress and critiquing them. And she asked me to be part of this amazing group of people, Matt Watroba, Jim Bizer, Kitty Donohoe, David Barrett, who a lot of folks in the folk community don't necessarily know who he is, but they should. He's a Grammy-winning composer and amazing singer-songwriter. He just doesn't tour much as a singer-songwriter these days. And Michael Hough, so Muster's Retreat. And we met every Monday and just were, critique each other's writing. And pretty much a year after that, we started performing, and we do an annual show at the Arc every year. Just being around that kind of talent just definitely kicked me in the butt. And now we're in a band with Jim and Jan, right? Called Diamonds in the Rust, as you know.
You came out of sort of a rock and soul background. Would that be the best description?
Started off as a classical violinist in grade school, and got totally seduced by electric guitars and rock and roll. And in a lot of ways, I feel like I still play it. I just play a different instrument. I play with a different set of types of musicians, but I still really feel like a rock player in a lot of ways.
Me too. I came out, my early influences, well, you started with James Taylor and Carole King and, Elton John, who I still love, and all of them who I still love. But my sister came home with an Aerosmith record, and I was smitten and off to that, world then for, a decade or more. That was the kind of stuff we were covering. And when I started writing music in a rock, the first music that got performed live in a band, I was a lyricist. This was a band he and I were in together. Finally, when we finally reconnected, called Dream Street. And we were destined for rock stardom at that point. I was a lyricist, a guitar player in the band, had some amazing compositions, and I just threw words on them. And so that was a different world altogether. So when we moved to Ann Arbor, I started volunteering at the Arc, and I was exposed to this music that I, only peripherally had heard of. And then we just...
Wheatland.
Yep, Wheatland. We went to the Falcon Ridge Folk Festival.
When I look back at it, I had acoustic music running sort of as an undercurrent through a lot of this. It hit all the buttons for us. It's what we wanted to do.
Felt more comfortable.
Yeah, we just started finding an amazing community of people. I think that was one of the biggest things.
Well, you bring a joy and wizardry to your music, that's for sure. That's my takeaway. That's what I think I first
Thank you. That's good in a lot of ways because she is writing the tunes and writing the music, and I love to just come along and color around the edges. And I don't know that I could do what you do.
And I couldn't
by
do
any
what he
means.
does. So I like to think he completes my sentences. In my head, I hear his parts, and the songs aren't complete without them.
And I'm an ensemble player, so I'm if you took her away from me, you would hear just noodling. And it wouldn't be informed noodling anymore. It would just be noodling without context.
We've had a couple of opportunities to play just sort of background music at things outdoors, and we wore masks. We just did instrumental versions of our songs.
Yeah.
So essentially, I would play the song, and in my head, I'm singing it, but I didn't want to sing. He's playing solo breaks through the whole thing. And then we also had Jason Denny, who
Plays mandolin
he
with
plays
us.
mandolin with us. And so the two of them would just swap licks through the whole song. And so I would argue that there's plenty of musicality going on in there in those songs, even without the lyric. That's actually a really fun thing to do. And in this time when we're more nervous about singing, it gave us another way to put music out there. Oh, look,
Someone's hungry. Anyways,
It's probably
all the
time to
best.
feed him.
don't trip over that.
Be well.
Good,
Okay.
good to see you, Rod. Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye, Stanley.
Say bye. Oh,
Let's talk about Farm. Annie, you are the conference director, and you've been for a couple of years. You've also been president of the organization and been with the organization for quite some time. How did you get involved with Farm in the beginning?
Rod and I had attended our first Folk Alliance International when it was in Nashville. I think that was 2005. And we were, just kind of like getting our feet wet in the folk music world. A bunch of Michigan friends were going. It was the big, crazy international conference. But the folks that were in the room were like Dan Hazlett, Jim Bizer, John Lamb, and they were all saying, you might want to try going to Farm. So the next year, Farm was going to be in Battle Creek, and we actually submitted for an official showcase and got one. I think there were 60 people, maybe 4 venues, a handful of DJs and whatnot. Anyway, we found our tribe. I just fell in love with these people, and it was so much more manageable than the crazy big conference. And as I was leaving, Susan Urban was sitting at the desk, and I just said, if you guys need any help, I'd love to get involved. Well, I think I got an email the next day, and she just said, yes, we would love to help. And so she had me organize the workshops, and I got added to the board. I guess I was officially the president from 2009 to 2012.
So fast forward, we are in 2020. Farm has decided to postpone the conference. Tell me about that process and how that decision was made, and for you being the conference director, being really the only employed person in the room, how that process affected you and what your thoughts were going into that.
As well as I do, it was agonizing. I think we knew pretty early on that it wasn't going to happen, but we were trying to hold out hope and didn't want to, give up on the whole thing right away because, everybody was trying to figure stuff out. There was a lot of conversation back and forth with the International Folk Alliance folks. Once they canceled the conference, the writing was sort of on the wall, and we just had to figure out the best way to announce it. Obviously, the negotiations with the hotel was interesting, and we were lucky that we were able to now extend our time in Michigan. I guess on one hand, that's nice because this would have been our last year in Grand Rapids. And you guys, the whole board was really amazing. The way they just kind of thought about everything and made sure that when we made the decision, it was the right decision, and that when we announced it, we made sure everybody was confident that we made the best decision possible. I think that the community was 100% with us, and they weren't coming anyway. We have a lot of folks that would have not been able to attend. I mean, as well as I do right now, and then I think you were the one that said, we could just start holding peer group sessions. And because we were trying to think of what we could do to replace the conference, and we went online, and I mean, it just took off. So we formed our little committee and started building from there. And I think that the work has been really appreciated, and certainly in light of how many folks are showing up to to have conversations week after week. And I actually have been having a lot of fun with this, and being performers ourselves, we're looking at things that, we're experiencing, both that side of it. And I went after everything that I would want to learn. I think the conference itself would have been 3 solid days of immersion and a lot going on in a full schedule from morning till morning.
No sleep.
Yeah, right. No sleep. So, and knowing full well that nobody's going to want to stare at their computer for hours on end, we thought it would be better for the community to start engaging right away and essentially stretch out what would have been happening at the conference over the course of however many months leading up to it. Thinking about the fact that the front loading of the work in the virtual connections world, in the virtual world, is the complete opposite of what would have been happening if we were hosting an in-person conference. We would have been scrambling and going crazy right about now. So in a way, we've got kind of a well-oiled machine. It's a much less stressful. So what we've got going on that weekend, our keynote speaker, John McCutcheon, there was just no guarantee that we were going to get to have him. And we just didn't want to risk missing that. And we're going to get wonderful workshop from him. So we'll have the keynote address, and we usually have our annual general meeting. We've been doing an event at the conference every year called Wisdom of the Elders, where we bring in 4 folks who've been around the community for a long enough time to have a lot of wisdom to share. The elders are Rich Warren, Ann Hills, Claudia Schmidt, and Reggie Harris, and Matt Watroba, our resident moderator, who's just brilliant at that job. And we're also talking about adding these private showcases in.
Would the virtual conference then give you a good idea of what would happen at a real conference?
Wow, that's a good question. Kind of. I mean, I think it's if they were attending the peer sessions, if they were attending the tech talks, if they were attending kind of all the stuff that we've been doing up to this point, there might be a hint of it. But I don't know. I think it's. I mean, I'm not afraid to say this is not recreating an in-person conference, by any stretch. There's so much more energy and buzz behind that in-person experience.
It was really exciting how quickly you pivoted from putting together an in-person conference to putting together this virtual connections thing, which none of us had ever done before, and immediately just jumped on board and just started doing it. And it's been a blessing to the community, so thank you.
Thank you. I mean, I can honestly say that while I appreciate the pay, and it is an awful lot of work, it's been really a labor of love.
If you appreciate this content, please hit the subscription link below. Please ring the bell for notifications. Always hit like and comment down below. And you can visit us at charliesopenmic.com, where you can find our Patreon link and help support the show.
Walking ain't easy, and walking is tough. Talking with you, walking is more. It's more than enough. It's more than you want, and less than you need, and more than what some got, but less than you see. So please give me something, now something to eat, and give me the strength to climb to my feet. 'Cause walking ain't easy, and walking is tough, and talking with you, walking is more. More than enough. And sometimes we choose the wrong path. Sometimes that path chooses us. And sometimes we lose much more than we thought. Sometimes our thoughts demand trust. I wanna thank you, 'cause you're always there, and you lifted me up with your tender care. And you could have left me or just walked away, but you didn't think twice when you chose to stay. 'Cause walking ain't easy, and walking is tough, and talking with you walking is more. It's more than enough.
Thanks for watching Charlie's Open Mic this week, and thank you to Annie and Rod Capps for sharing their music and story with us. As always, please hit that subscription link down below. Please ring the bell for notifications of upcoming episodes. You can always visit us at charliesopenmic.com and find our Patreon link to help support the show. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.